Once upon a time, not long ago, and not far away, we were here. Now we're back. Well, some of us are back. No, just me. So far. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Marijuana Man. This is from Under the Influence here in exciting downtown Vancouver. We're at Mark Emery's Cannabis Culture bookstore in the studio. And thrilled to be here today. We, I don't know, we missed last week. I don't remember. How could I possibly remember why last week? But we're here today, and glad that any and all of you could tune in to join us today. Got Anil at the wheel today, flipping switches, and I don't know, letting you hear it, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if Kush Queen's going to show up. Pretty sure Al's not going to. But beautiful weather here in Vancouver. We're in the throes of full-blown summer right now. And it crept up really fast. We have strange weather here on the coast. In May, it was like summer. And then as soon as it hits June, it turns into May and parts of April. It gets cold and wet and rainy and cloudy, and then all of a sudden, bang, it was fucking 25 degrees and clear and sunny, and it has been ever since. So we have lucked out. It's well above average at the moment. Hope it stays that way. I love the heat. Rather have summer than anything. Welcome to those of you joining us in the chat. What's going on in the world of cannabis? Yeah, the Canadian Parliament passed their little bill, C-45. I don't know. What's the official name of that bill? Yeah, it's got cannabis in the name, that's all we know. Doesn't have much cannabis in the bill, though. It's called the Cannabis Smashing Act, perhaps, or the Cannabis Prohibition Act. No, it's fucking sad bullshit that they've come up with here and rammed through our parliament with all sorts of glee and chest pumping about things and keeping us safe and all this fucking bullshit. So I guess yesterday they passed the legislation to, as they say, legalize cannabis for adults, which is pretty vague, which they aren't really doing at all. Yeah, I saw Jodie being interviewed this morning on CTV, and she raised the question, legalize for who? And I thought, yeah, that's exactly right. Who are they legalizing this for? So that's how I came up with the title of the show, Legalization for Dummies. It's really, when I began to think about it, beyond it being legalized for the government and kickdowns hard for the police to enforce, this is really the legalization of cannabis for people who don't know anything about cannabis, as far as I can tell. All of the LPs, none of those people have a background in cannabis, don't care, don't have a clue about growing good weed. And the people who are going to flock to fucking liquor board stores to get their weed are people who don't know that much about cannabis. They've actually been buying they've been buying weed in the black market up till that point from the guy. The guy had what the guy had. So they don't care. They're not going to care whether the cannabis is any good that they get from the government, because they won't really know. If it's just one hair better than the guy had, they're going to be pumped to be able to go and get a bottle of whiskey and a couple grams of weed in the same store or right next door. The general public don't really give a fuck about cannabis, never have. Unfortunately, we do, and we have. And those of us who have been active all these years to get cannabis where it got to yesterday weren't even fucking mentioned. Weren't mentioned at all. Because they're not legalizing cannabis for people who like cannabis. Get it through your heads. If you like cannabis, we don't want you to have it. That's their plan. That's their idea. Is to prey upon people who know nothing about cannabis, potentially even hurt them with it because of the way they're going to let it be prepared by Aurora and Canopy. Those two, they're just going to take it all over, and they're going to be the providers of it, and then they're going to hurt somebody, and then they're going to say, see, we told you cannabis was dangerous. I fucking hate it. And I hate every politician involved in it. Fuck you, fuck you. You do not represent people who care about cannabis. Like how distasteful they've become about it too, eh? Like really. Not a mention. Because, I don't know, there was a mention when they tabled legislation for the gay community. They thanked the gay activists who had worked so diligently to bring this legislation to the table. Bill Blair was standing on that very stage as it was said. But nobody wants to acknowledge the fucking fight that we've been fighting all of these years and all of the damage that prohibition has done. That's the problem. They know that if they acknowledge us, then they have to acknowledge what we're saying. And they don't and will not do that because they're fucking responsible for this debacle of prohibition. They have caused all the damage. They can sit in the House yesterday and vote on legalizing cannabis, but every day until what they said it's going to happen October 17th. They're just looking for some really fucking innocuous day that the cannabis activists could not even come close to celebrating with them. Meant nothing to anybody. They did all the research. It's not Halloween. It's not fucking right. So even still, a member of Parliament, Marilyn Gladu, is that how you pronounce her name? Gladu. I think she's the member of Parliament, Conservative member of Parliament for Sarnia, Ontario. She stood up and out loud said things like that she was afraid if cannabis was legalized in this country that on Canada Day people would be inclined to show cannabis leaves on flags and t-shirts on Canada Day. And she said she thought that was disgusting, and also that it was an affront and disrespectful to our veterans. This is what she said. How on earth does she get to be a member of Parliament? Is there no test whatsoever? Can't we devise a test? There's a fucking test to become just about anything. You gotta have a test to be a bartender, for fuck's sakes. How about her? How about them? Can't we give them a little test? Could she know less about this subject than anyone? So why the fuck is she managing my affairs when she knows nothing about shit? Is my point. And why are we saddled with these fucking idiots who don't know anything and are blathering whatever the fuck they want out loud as an adult in the fucking House of Parliament? What is this, some insane asylum? For fuck's sakes? We're paying large for it. Let's put it to good use instead of this fucking nonsense. So, fucking Marilyn Gladu, look her up. 20 years she worked for Dow Chemical. Huh. Dow Chemical. What a coincidence. You corrupt motherfucker. She should be kicked out for being that stupid, for first of all. Like, really. So, and further to her stupidity and lack of knowledge, we've been celebrating the cannabis leaf on Cannabis Day for fucking 20 years here. We do it every year. Her fears could only be wrought upon by that very event, probably. Doesn't she see? She doesn't know that's already going on?
I did actually send her video cannabis.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone did. She doesn't give a fuck. She's a corrupt motherfucker from Dow Chemical. She shouldn't even be allowed to be in office. There should be some rules here who gets to be a member of parliament here and who you're connected to. Because I don't like that connection. Because Dow Chemical's not a fucking good company and safe and just. So she should have excused herself because of her background to say fucking anything about anything. But they're all corrupt. Here she is worried about a cannabis leaf on a t-shirt on Canada Day. As a Canadian citizen, I can wear the fuck I want on my t-shirt on Cannabis Day. You got a problem? Holy cow. It should say, fuck you, Marilyn Gladu is what I'm going to wear on my t-shirt. We should plaster her face all over t-shirts and give them out on Cannabis Day. Stupidest politician in Canada. And here's another thing. She has no problem, apparently, with putting on a poppy to show respect for the veterans. An opium poppy. Are you fucking kidding me? She worked at Dow Chemical and would rather have an opium poppy than a cannabis leaf. Huh. What a coincidence. Crooked motherfuckers. All of them. Doesn't matter if they're conservative, NDP. All the NDP voted for this fucking sad news that just got voted on. Every NDP, every liberal, they're all the same. They're all in it for the fucking... I don't know. A far cry from what we think that they've been elected here to do. Marijuana stock prices skyrocketed yesterday upon the news that the bill had been signed. Fuck you. Quit giving these people money. Don't you see? It's got nothing to do with people who like cannabis. You're giving all the money to guys who don't know anything and don't even like cannabis. ExCops, ex-fucking prohibitionist, pretending now to be businessmen. Only in it for the business now. Corrupt motherfuckers, all of them. So, no talk of any amnesty for anybody. We're going to arrest you right up till October 16th midnight. You watch. They're going to start smashing everybody as hard as they can. Because that's what they want to do. That's what the cops want to do. They want to get back involved in the big drug war, but they do it under the guise now of legalization. They don't run a war against alcohol being made outside of the system. They don't run a war against tobacco being grown outside of the system. They don't run a war about fucking handymen renting themselves out outside of the system. right? Every fucking thing is outside of the system. People walk into stores all day long with goods to sell to the proprietor of the store, and he can buy them. I don't know, there's a produce place next to my dispensary that fucking like 15 trucks a day show up to drop off produce. Cash business. Nobody's checking nothing. Nobody gives a shit. It's not up to me if the guy who I pay for the goods pays his taxes or not. How am I supposed to fucking know and care? I'm gonna assume that he is, and you have to. Everyone in the world assumes that the other one is. So why would it be any different here if you'd give us a chance? But you won't. Won't even give us a chance to play. Because you've got this whole system figured out that everybody gets fucking paid. That's why it's taken them so long to figure it out. Is to figure out how to distribute as much money from this venture as they possibly can get. Grr. So all over the fucking internet are people going, ooh, yay. You go, fuck you. It's not yay. Nothing's been won here. Oh, it's a step in the right direction. What a fucking lame thing to say. Like, really? That is the simplest and stupidest thing you could possibly say, because that's the teeniest little fucking step and 200 steps backwards. What about all those? What about all the fucking new laws that we're going to end up having to break here? Holy fuck. Getting tired of having to break all your stupid laws to show you how bad they are. Like, you've already agreed out loud that prohibition was stupid and ineffectual. Yet here you go and put a fucking new one out. Like, really? Why do we let them do it? Because the media is useless. They are completely compliant, and they don't even ask any questions. They don't ask one question of any statement that these crooked motherfuckers are making. No matter how outlandish it is, they don't even question it. They just print it. Whatever the government says, we'll print it. And the government is lying through their fucking face. All this bullshit about public safety, protecting the youth. Boring. Because, once again, because they haven't talked to us, they are letting the dummies out there in the world think that there is some measure of danger and it has to be this way, so I'll feel a lot safer buying it in the liquor store. How fucking distasteful is that? To put this substance anywhere near that vile product. People die every day from alcohol. Why don't you put cannabis as far away from that as you possibly can, so that people will go there and go, hey, maybe I don't need to go to the liquor store anymore. It's too far away. Why didn't you do that? But no, you didn't, did you? It's not part of the plan. You want to put it as close to the booze as you possibly can. So that then again, at some point, you can make some correlation that cannabis is killing people. Oh, no, except for the vodka, but, you know. There's more people dying on the liquor side now than there used to be. So I don't trust them now. Like, I don't know. The world is getting tired of us saying what we've been saying. But nothing's changed. We have to keep saying what we're saying here because it has to be continued to be said. Do you think we're fucking stupid? You think Jodie Emery is out of her mind when she utters these words to the public when the press say, but I thought you'd be happy. Why the fuck doesn't the interviewer know one tiny inclination of why Jodie might not be happy with what's happening? Why doesn't she know that? She's a high-paid fucking news broadcaster who knows nothing. Right? And wants to keep it that way. Because then she can't be fucking held accountable for anything. She's like a news vending machine. You just want to shake it though and flip it on its side sometimes and see if you can get a free Coke. Oh, I wish Kush Queen was here for this part. I don't even know where she is. Hope her castle's okay. I heard she was having a second moat put in. No, just for inconvenience. It's too easy to get across. Just one moat. So you got the time. You got people around. And we're building a moat. Have you ever built a moat?
Over a moat?
A moat. Not many
It
people
wasn't ever
have.
called one officially.
Wasn't official.
An official note.
The Egyptians weren't there to measure. Ran into something very unusual the other day, aside from the cannabis world, which maybe it's still involved. I don't know. On the internet, they showed a picture. They found some skeletal remains of a female from 3,700 years ago in Scotland. So some forensic artist recreated her face and they published that. And from the Bronze Age. So I thought, so I looked up the Bronze Age. I'm not too sure how that happened, but there was a fucking thing about the Bronze Age. At the end of it, it was called the Bronze Age Collapse. And this was in 1200 BC. All of the major cities and civilizations around the fucking Mediterranean within 50 years crumbled and disappeared. And these cities were abandoned, never to be fucking repopulated. Which I found very unusual, and so does the scientific and archaeological world, because they have no clue why that happened. It's called the TJ Patient. 1200 here in BC. Look it up though. The Bronze Age collapse. And for some reason it threw the region into 200 years of dark ages where people no longer wrote shit. There was no more fucking art. They didn't make any more monuments. Any art that they did do was as rudimentary as you could get. Like some fucking real dramatic thing happened in that portion of the world at the end of the Bronze Age. Could have been just marauding people with iron. The Iron Age would be upon them. And there is some conjecture that that was the case. They were calling them the Sea People. That was as detailed as they got with it. But what the fuck? These cities and towns on the coast disappeared and reappeared on the top of the highest fucking mountains around. That's where the people went from. It was from down there to the top of the highest mountain they could find. So something was attacking them. But how unusual. That's how the Bronze Age apparently collapsed. And it sent the world into ruin. Because,
Bronze must be pretty good stuff.
well, apparently not. Fucking slammed it with iron in an afternoon. Oh, nice bronze sword you got. Lop your head off. Ouch. That's really harder than my fucking spear. Ow. And there was a lot of information about this thing that happened, and so little information about why. I'm not too sure how they know all these details about what happened, but not why. They thought maybe it was earthquakes. They said, well, virtually every one of those cities had had earthquakes, and they rebuilt the city and continued to live there. But not in 1200 BC, they didn't. So, it's just kind of related to that woman that they showed from Scotland from about that time. And you thought you wouldn't learn anything here, because we're smoking illegal marijuana. There's little chance that you could remain coherent or absorb any information whatsoever on illegal marijuana. Now it's going to be sad the way they got it set up. As a retailer, you would have to buy your marijuana from the liquor board. Gross. Gross. Crooked motherfuckers they are, and always have been. They're going to somehow decide what weed gets purchased to be sold. I'm not too sure. They haven't released any details about who's the guy going to do that, and how is it that he's not going to be, you know, pressed up against the wall in some alley one night and said, here's our fucking weed, and take it and pay for it. Huh. No chance for any collusion in the liquor business, is there? No chance there's any criminal element in the liquor business, is there? Come on. So if there isn't, there's gonna be, because they're coming with the weed. So yeah, I don't know how long we got really here in Canada. They say they're going to legalize it October 17th. Didn't say what time of day. Probably later in the day, so nobody can ask too many questions. Surprised they even had the balls to say what day it is so that people don't show up to protest anything. Boo-hoo. So we got till then. I don't know what's going to happen here in Vancouver, but I suspect all the dispensaries going to be getting a letter pretty soon, because they got to shut it right down to start all over. Shut it right down. You would think if they're going to have it fucking pull the plug on October 17th, they're not giving any retailers here one fucking minute to prepare, are they? They haven't even got a process to apply, so I don't know. BC, have they tabled their legislation?
Yeah, it was if you go to the website, it still says it's in third reading.
They'll slam it through too, but still, it's October 17th? Come on, nobody can even grow weed that quickly. Where's all this weed gonna come from? Wouldn't it have been illegal weed that it's gonna be? Because it wasn't legal when they were growing it. If it's ready October 17th, how's this? How could anybody be that quick?
Or it's supposed to go.
Right? Right? Is it just going to be those who are already growing for medicinal marijuana are going to get a chance to sell their weed? Or is everybody out there right now growing weed, waiting, ready? Let's go. It's all illegal now, isn't it? Because they haven't got their tracking system in place. They're going to spray it with something. You watch. They'll be spraying it with some fucking UV sensitive crap that'll show up in the dark. So I don't know. And now these fucking slimy LPs too, they want to drag this whole system around the world and show it off as the model of legalization because it's good for them. Why would Canopy Growth give a fuck if it wasn't good enough for them? It's just Aurora and Canopy going to take it all over. I think they're out there buying up all sorts of businesses now. Anything related to cannabis, they're buying them up and closing them. So there won't be any competition to them when it becomes legal for them to be able to do it. No, it's fucking ruthless. Real business is fucking ugly. It's just ugly. Compared to the black market, wow. The black market's been given a bad name. I think we should legalize the black market. That'd make it a lot easier, wouldn't it? Then you wouldn't have to worry about it at all. Oh, it's the legal black market, right?
It's the dark market.
Yeah, dark.
I thought that was part of the game.
And you know, like black. Come on, let's. Can't we think of a better word for it? Or the
Why did that make it bad?
the nice market. How about that? Yeah. Not the government market. But no, they've painted the black market here, everywhere, as criminal, fucking violent, bad people involved in the black market. Well, that might be true for a lot of things, but it's not so true for cannabis, quite frankly, because of the mom and pop operations and the ease of being able to grow your own cannabis. Everybody did, right? Hey, there's Jodie Emery.
Hello.
She knows it's hot in here.
By to say hi. It's legal. Do you feel free today?
No, I feel very expensive today. I'm not free anymore.
Oh man. Yeah, just like the price to get legal, eh? Not free.
Holy fuck.
No.
They got their thumb on the scale too.
I love it. Gotta love government gangsterism, where they get to sell pot and we don't, and we get arrested and they don't, and
those who arrested us get to sell it.
yeah, they get celebrated. Like, oh, the government of Canada is so wonderful. Oh, they've given us freedom. Oh, it feels so good. They're so benevolent. Thank you, dear leader.
Hoop jumpers. That's all they are. They are.
Frustrating. It's frustrating. 'Cause
Well, the National Post did the most fucking horrible, stupid piece about Bill Blair.
celebrating him like some hero.
And the headline suggested that the celebration of cannabis was as a result of him.
Bill Blair is blessing us with
Really?
legalization.
Holy fuck. Like, it was such a bizarre piece.
I know, I saw it.
I couldn't believe it.
Because it's like, here we are, the people who actually campaigned. And even the health minister is on Twitter today saying, oh, thank you so much to all of the hardworking government officials who put in 2.5 years of long struggle and ordeal. Oh, the trenches, the deep in the battlefields for 2.5 years of taxpayer-funded meetings and more nonsense discussions based on propaganda, because why would we actually tell the truth about cannabis? Then the people might get upset that we put them in jail for it.
And hey, in your 2.5 years of hard work, you missed us. You
Hi.
missed coming to Cannabis Culture
Yeah.
and talking to Jodie and talking to the people here.
Yeah, take that period in the 2.5 and get rid of it, and then you got 25, and that's how long Cannabis Culture has been at the forefront of activism. So, yeah, it's a bittersweet day, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I don't want to be upset, but it's It's difficult.
Well,
It's
they've
very
taken
difficult.
all the fun out of it.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what I'm celebrating. Like me, I'm still a criminal today. Do I have a legal store? No. No. Do I get a pardon? No. Even possession arrests aren't getting pardons. That's going to be promised next year as an election campaign carrot.
Maybe.
Here's your little maybe if you vote
If
liberal.
you're good. Anne
Maybe.
McClellan said if you're good.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Behave
we could
yourself.
overturn this if you don't play along.
We could take away all your extra punishments if you don't play nice. No, I can't stand it. I
and
just
she's talking to us.
No, I
You know that, right?
Well, and I just, there's a lot of people looking at us as like the problem, when in fact, legalization has been our mission and our life statement, and it's so strange right now because there's some praise being handed out. People saying, "Wow, after all these years and after all this hard work, it's finally legal. Thank you so much, Mark and Jodie and everybody there who made this possible." And it's like, well, I don't want you to thank me for this new legislation because it's terrible. I don't have anything to celebrate yet. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to, again, I'm trying so hard. And we have a lot of friends in the industry who are comfortable, I might add, with, comfortable positions where they don't have to fear arrest. And a lot of these people are kind of like, I described it online. It's like you got the people who got in the lifeboats and the ship is sinking. And some of these people, they got on the lifeboats first because they're the first class deck. The people on the third class deck, there's not many lifeboats for them. And then you got all these lifeboats out there in the ocean filled up with people, and the big ship is going down, and then all the people in the water who are like, fuck, I need safety, please, I need safety. And then the people in the lifeboats are like, what you talking about? I'm good, I'm dry. I'm in a boat. Why aren't you in a boat? I got my lifeboat. How come you're complaining that you're not in a lifeboat? How come you're complaining that you're drowning? I'm in a boat. So it's like, that's what it feels like. It feels like, it feels a bit like we're also, I love these analogies or metaphors, but it's kind of like we're on the field after a war, and the bullets are still being shot at us, and the bombs are going off, and the landmine, don't step there, there's a landmine. You never know when you're going to get hit, because there's landmines all over, and there's bullets and bombs flying all over, because we're still the enemy in the eyes of the government. And meanwhile, while we're still fighting and helping our friends, and you're on the ground bleeding, and the medics are out there trying to save the victims of the war, and then you got all the generals and the fat cats up at headquarters going, cheers, mate. We've won the war.
We've won the war.
It's all great, mate. Isn't it grand? Isn't it wonderful? Legalization. Doesn't it feel good? Look at those stock profits going up. Oh, yeah, my stores are going to open in October. Oh, yeah, it's all good. Meanwhile, out on the field, it's like, my arm is blown off, and I'm being held captive as a prisoner of war, and oh shit, my bottom half of my body's been blown away by the landmine, and now I can't walk. But at least my generals are enjoying their champagne. That's how I feel. Do you get a bit of a sarcastic? I'm having a little bit of a sassy tone right now. It's because I've just
nothing
done like
sarcastic about that.
I just did 12 interviews since 5 a.m., so it's been about 12 hours of nonstop.
Good
Aren't
for
you
you.
happy?
Yeah.
Aren't I happy? Oh, I didn't realize my criminal record got erased. Oh, shoot, I missed that part of it. Oh, we got licensed? Oh, this is legal? Oh, shit, this is legal too? Oh, my God, you guys, I didn't realize that happened. Yeah. Oh, wait, no.
This isn't a big deal?
It's not legal.
It's not a big deal anymore?
Hey, by the way, all the marijuana books and magazines, still illegal. Section 462.2 of the Criminal Code. Just saying.
Yeah, didn't vote on that yesterday.
That's weird.
It's
weird times.
Really weird times.
Seeing our oppressors being heralded as the liberators.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
fucked.
It's like, yeah, it's like we were held in jail for many years, and then finally the jail guard opens the door, and then we have to bow down and kiss his feet and thank him. Nah, I don't think so. No. Anyway, it's weird.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't know. It is a crazy, crazy thing. I don't believe in Canada. I don't know. There must be something weirder than this. beyond what they've done to the indigenous peoples, I can't imagine that in anywhere in business there's been anything like this debacle and obvious collusion and corruption and without question.
Oh,
right?
it's so blatantly obvious, so plain.
I wish the media, like I'm ashamed of the media but once again, right, it's 80% of the population doesn't know what we know.
Right.
They think exactly what they've been told about cannabis their whole lives by the government and by the media, and so when we say the opposite, somehow we're fucking nuts.
Oh, right. And
we're the ones not to be listened to, because...
And the government narrative of the last few years. So now the conversation is naturally turning to, well, if it's not going to be illegal in October, when are you going to pardon people for possession? At least, like, the media and a lot of people are demanding that. But the government isn't even looking at that. And
No.
there's no effort to apologize for the harm that they caused. And that should be the main reason to legalize. And so, yeah, it is strange when people think...
So they're blatantly showing this is not the reason that they're legalizing it.
Right, exactly. When they
Right,
say,
they have
we
another
can't.
reason.
Yeah, we have to wait until we implement legalization. But how hard is it to implement not arresting people? How fucking hard? I'm going to swear loudly. How fucking hard can it be to stop arresting peaceful, non-violent people for pot? I don't understand. Why is it so hard? No, I do understand. Because once you start going down the rabbit hole about why is cannabis actually illegal, who benefits, who profits, why is it happening, well then.
And why...
Then you start getting some dangerous questions.
They've just spent 2.5 years of trying to figure out ways to not let people who like cannabis have it.
They've been lying. And that's what, a lot of the apologists for the government say, well, come on now. They have to appease the conservatives. There's still some people who don't like cannabis, so we have to... It's like, why do you need to become your enemy to appeal to your enemy's people? Like, why?
When you have a majority.
They have a majority government. The day Trudeau got elected, he could have said, you know what? You all know I'm a pot-smoking prime minister, because I've admitted it. Cannabis prohibition is wrong, and we all know that the Harper government was crazy. And we know all the research shows cannabis is actually a benefit to health and a benefit to public safety. So here's the truth about cannabis. Here's how we're going to legalize it. If they did that 2.5 years ago, you wouldn't have senators freaking out about little Johnny's toaster bud and all the bullshit that we've seen for nonstop months and after. It's just, you wouldn't have that, because that sort of bullshit would be laughed out of the room the minute it get brought up if the Liberals had actually spent the last 2.5 years telling the truth. But immediately Bill Blair started the anti-cannabis truth tour, went all across this country, back and forth repeatedly, telling all the police, all the city governments, all the provincial governments, all the doctors, all the people, telling them, be afraid, restrict and limit marijuana because it's dangerous. It's a threat to public health and a threat to public safety. And that's what they spent 2.5 years telling people. And now they wonder why they have to have tough rules. Because you fuckers told everybody to be terrified. No, it's infuriating. Ugh, I feel like I'm insane. This is reefer madness.
Oh, times 10. Like, times 10 and beyond. It's gone just crazy.
You've seen even worse, like the Government of Canada ads that they put out there. Canada.ca/cannabis. I'm sure that's a trustworthy source of info. So they have videos where Dr. Mark Ware, who was on the marijuana task force and is now working for Canopy Growth and is with the government, evil interest in this. Yes, they have a video where they say, the Government of Canada knows you have questions about cannabis. Get the honest facts. And they capitalize the H and they capitalize the F as if somehow, like Trump, if you just emphasize it enough, it's true. But it's not. They're in this video. There's actually someone in the video. Dr. Mark Ware, the video is like, cannabis is a plant. How can it be dangerous? And he goes, well, there are many dangerous plants out there. So just because a plant is maybe good doesn't mean it's not bad. And then you have a lady go, well, yeah, we know marijuana smoke is like tobacco smoke. Bullshit. bullshit. 100% completely factually not at all an honest fact. That is so infuriating. How the government is getting away with spending our money lying. And I want to go to the advertising truth board or something. But what do you do when it's the government? It's like 1984. It's so Orwellian. They tell us, this is legalization, accept it. Comply or die. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is legal.
Compliance.
Yeah, and then
It's all about compliance.
I just got asked that today. Will you comply? And I'm like, well, we can comply with reasonable regulations. Yes, I want to comply. I want to be legal. I want to be licensed. I want to be legalized. That's the point of legalization activism. But if they will not let us in the door, they cannot punish us for not getting through the door. I can't fucking stand this. I'm sorry, I'm so angry today, but my God, it's like the 420 thing. They say, well, you need a permit. May we have a permit? No, you cannot have a permit. Well, what happens if we don't get a permit from you? Well, then we will punish you. Can we please have a permit so we don't get punished? Nope, no permit for you. That is exactly what this is. They're saying, oh, you can be legal, you know. And I say, oh, great. Show me the way. Oh, well, it's through this door, but you're not really allowed in. Oh, okay, is there another way in? Maybe through that door, but you won't be able to afford it. Okay, what about is there another door? Yeah, but that door doesn't let convicts through.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, what about, is there another door? Yeah, but that door is only for people who will choose to comply or die. So it's like, okay, you won't let me through the door, and then you punish me because you won't let me through the door. I can't fucking stand it. They call us criminals and then punish us for being criminals and refuse to stop criminalizing us.
And it's only cannabis.
It's a fucking flower, and it's not even just a
It doesn't
dandelion. It doesn't even just not hurt you. It saves lives. This flower can house people. It can heal people. It can enlighten people. It is fuel. It is fiber. It is for our health. It's the tree of life. There is no other plant on this earth that can treat so many ailments, from babies and toddlers and infants to teens to adults to seniors. Every human being benefits from cannabis. It's an enormous crime that.
And that's why it's dangerous.
And there you go. And that's what I mean by the rabbit hole. So why is marijuana illegal? Okay, how many years do you have to talk about that? And I'm sorry, I'm so emotional and so upset. I really am, guys.
I was thinking about the Senate discussion that had been going on around this, and then I thought about the Senate in 2002, how they actually took a look at cannabis, not... Right. They took a look at cannabis and overwhelmingly came to the conclusion that this is not a safety issue and it wasn't a health issue, and it should be legalized fairly simply for anyone over the age of 16. Yeah. This is what they came to a conclusion, which we paid millions of dollars for them to conclude. And here, all these years later, this Senate, look at the position that they took. Complete, utter opposite to that. And I thought, well, what's changed? The cannabis, I smoked it in 2002, smoked it this morning. And I thought, wasn't the cannabis, it was the Senate that changed. You go, wow, isn't that interesting? How when you don't look at the substance, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's funny, because like you said, this has been looked at before, and police are not
even
ready.
A mention of it.
No.
Not a mention of that Senate hearing whatsoever in the whole process. Nobody in the news media never brought it up. Nobody said nothing.
They can't let the truth get out there, and that's what they're fighting so hard against. Because here's the thing: everyone in Canada will turn into me, because when I
everybody's going to know.
Well, you're lied to. So in high school, I was against marijuana and against drugs and everything because the government and the police and the teachers told me so, and I trusted authority because they're supposed to look out for you. And then they lied. And then I started questioning everything. And that put me in harm's way because I questioned whether they lied about dangerous drugs. And it puts them in a bad position because now I can't trust government. I cannot trust authorities that strip search me twice for a nonviolent crime and throw me in maximum security prison for helping people. I can't trust them. I can't. I'm trying so hard to trust them and I can't. And so the government knows that as soon as people across Canada start saying, so this is legal now. Why was it illegal? Why'd
Yeah.
they arrest millions of people? They lied about it. Why'd they lie about it so hard for so long? Why? They hate that question. The government hates that question. And that's the real threat. And that they are
That's
terrified
exactly
people
right.
are going to start questioning everything about authority because cannabis exposes it. Like
They
Jack
got
Rivers
Dr.
said.
Mark Ware to tell us why.
Oh, well.
What a crook he is.
Man, oh,
And
man.
how do you get to do that? How do you get to be on the task force and then go into the fucking industry? How is this possible?
Yeah, and same with Anne McClellan, former health minister, justice minister, fought against medical marijuana at every turn, gets hired by a law firm that represents licensed producers, and then her little company gets to do, Bennett Jones gets to do all the law for all those LPs, and they also do the task force report so that the government documents, and our own team was there, Anil, and we had Danny, we were at this meeting, and there up on the board was a Cannabis Legalization task force slide, and down in the bottom there was a Bennett Jones law firm logo. And Danny, I think, or Neil said, "Excuse me, that's like a government slide, right, for the task force?" And she goes, "Oh, yes, yes, yes. The new Princess of Pot, yes, I do, yes, that is." And then they say, "Well," because she says people are calling her the Princess of Pot, goody for you. But then, so he says, "But that's like a law firm logo. That's not the Government of Canada logo. And isn't your law firm representing a lot of these licensed producers of medical marijuana that are lined up to become recreational under this task force recommendation?" And she goes, how did that get on there? Oh my, whatever. I don't know. So anyway, it's a bunch
They
of
don't
bullshit. All
care.
the insiders, and even you got Chuck Raffici, former chief financial officer of the Liberal Party, creates Tweed, which is Canopy, leaves that place, doesn't leave the paychecks, goes to create Cannabis Wheaton, which buys up all the small guys that can't afford the liberal regulations. Oh, but Cannabis Wheaton changed their name to Oxley, whatever that means.
They'll be changing
Why?
their name as quickly as they
It's
change
'cause
the
their
name of
name's
Pink Kush.
mud. Yeah, right? Pink Kush is now something else. It's a proprietary
It's a
strain.
number 7.
Anyway, so
It's an
these
8 now.
guys.
No,
So,
it's
yeah.
going to be horrible. And of course, not once down the line has anybody offered me or promised me better weed at a cheaper
No,
price.
the product is not. The product isn't the pot. Have you ever seen pot at a
So-
cannabis trade show? Yeah,
They're-
right.
That's how much they're ignoring cannabis in this whole process, is that they've not even said, hey, you people. See, that's why I concluded this morning when you said, who are they legalizing it for? They're legalizing it for dummies who don't know anything about cannabis, not for anyone who does. Because anyone who does know about this cannabis is going to break those rules. They have to, because you're not making
It's because
good
the
cannabis.
rules don't allow it. It's like we are forced to break the rules because you create these rules that we can't not break. You know, it's like
See,
saying,
they got tricked by their own prohibition.
yeah.
A lot of these people. I see it in the LPs that I watch on the Twitters. How they expect the marketplaces to be like it is now, based on the prohibition model that exists, because they have no other model
No.
to see. So they themselves are not looking at cannabis in reality. They're only looking at prohibition
Yes.
and the marketplace that
You're right.
creates and the price that it creates.
Prohibition prices.
So these people who are licensed producers and prepared to sell us marijuana are still talking in terms of, oh, those are quads or AAA, or those are only mids. What's the market going to be like for mids? And you go, well, there should be no such thing off the get-go. Wouldn't you be trying to grow the most perfect marijuana ever seen
Oh,
because
no.
you're legal and you can do that now? No.
They don't care about the product.
They're going to grow exactly the same way that everyone has under prohibition and offer the same and worse quality than we've ever seen.
Actually, they're basically like the shitty growers who were learning what to do 20 years ago. It's like they've got their shitty little grow rooms based on old manuals, based on prohibition methods. It's
And that's why they didn't want to talk to us.
nah, because
Right.
cannabis would be pennies per gram, but then maybe not, because people still want to pay dollars for it. But what it all comes down to, though, is just the fact that the market already exists, and that's what should have been legalized. Like, I can't get over that. That there's already
They should have jumped into it and said, okay, how can we help? But no.
Let's work together and all get legal.
That's what they've done with every other industry that they've ever become involved in, whether that was construction or fishing or fucking anything. Those things all existed before the government had anything to do with them, and at some point entered into it with that end. They didn't shut down fucking lumber
Yeah, or even
and start from ground zero with a government lumber thing.
right. And same with Airbnb and Uber, same idea. They actually allowed
When
those
no one-
companies to operate illegally, and then worked with them to create licenses to allow them to operate. That's what we all thought we were.
More
gonna have.
people were getting hurt in the lumber industry before they, compared to cannabis. No one's getting hurt.
That's the thing.
That's the fucking bottom line here, isn't it? Shouldn't it?
This
They don't
saves
mention that.
lives.
No one
That's the thing.
mentions it.
The government does not want to acknowledge that cannabis is good for you. They're still
They
demonizing
don't have
it
to in my book. Just fucking say it doesn't hurt you.
at the least.
Right?
But that's what's so
the rest may
offensive.
be out to science to prove.
There you
But
go.
I know, from my own experience, it doesn't hurt me.
Yeah.
And if it does, maybe it'll just a tiny bit. So
Well,
I don't
again,
need too many regulations.
It's like if we're going to talk about things that hurt us and the government has to protect us, okay, stop selling us your booze, stop selling us your tobacco and pills and fatty food and your all that. Like, if they're really concerned about people's health, this is not. They would go
Well-
crack down on. If they were concerned about protecting people's health, alcohol would be being regulated like the Cannabis Act.
Oh,
you
God.
know, right? Like it's
Oh,
if they were really
God.
concerned about people's safety and security.
Well,
and
the
health.
beer industry had the nerve to go before government demanding that cannabis taxes should be
Goat.
as high as the taxes they pay.
Yeah, there's a reason why
So
the
that
alcohol.
we can't compete with them.
Yeah, there's a reason why alcohol control boards control all the cannabis distribution across Canada, right? There's a reason the Supreme Court of Canada ruled against the charter rights of Canadians in favor of the alcohol monopolies in government. So,
No,
I mean,
it's
the booze
insidious.
cartels and the government cartel. You know what? It's scary because when I speak truth, I do get. Like, there's risk. What we do here does not come without
Yeah.
risk, right?
Don't
Like,
be-
that's.
Don't be telling the government they're
Well,
wrong.
you know, I think they've been watching for a while. Like I'm thinking back even to 2005. You know, there wasn't even pot being sold here, right? It's not even. It wasn't even about cannabis. You couldn't even get cannabis at Cannabis Culture for like 22 years of its 24-year history.
Here's a funny thing about that part.
What is it that you wanted to have?
Well, we had to do some tell everything interview with the DEA.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And they asked, was there any drugs being sold on premises? And I said, what you said. I said, no, that was part of our program, is that we sold everything you need but the weed, and we didn't. And Kirk made me kind of recant. And I said, well, there was drugs being sold on premises, but not by us, to us.
All right.
So he actually said, oh, really? From who? And this was 10 years prior, right? And quite frankly, a friend who sold us weed, his face popped into my head, and I said there was a guy named Dan. And he wrote that down, no shit. And
guy
never
named
asked me his last name or nothing else about it.
Okay, some people may have been accessing cannabis from their friends, but
Sorry to interrupt.
But it's true though, that cannabis culture. Like when I think of what you guys did here, even before I showed up, like what was it that upset the government so much? Like yes, it was definitely the money from the seed sales that financed ballot initiatives and court cases. Like that's serious threat to, but it's the truth more than anything, you know, and that's what Mark got into activism for. Like when he started, it was about fighting against books and magazines and music being censored. And then he discovered that this book about marijuana existed, and he thought that was fascinating, this hidden history of cannabis hemp. And he went to find the book and found out it's illegal in Canada. Same with High Times Magazine and every other marijuana-related book and magazine and stuff. So that's what Mark started with, was discovering that, you know, you get a bigger punishment for providing information about cannabis than you do for cannabis itself. And he thought, well, this is interesting, because why would they punish you more for a book about pot than pot? Like what? There must be something awfully good about that pot book to make it so much of a threat to government.
Much more dangerous.
And that's still on the books. This law is still on the books. Jail time, a $10,000 fine, and it might even be a $100,000 fine. But the point being, government is threatened about the truth about cannabis because it threatens the legitimacy of their authority, and it threatens all of the biggest powers that be, from alcohol, tobacco, pharmaceuticals, oil, military, industrial, prison, policing. See, but again, when I say this, I mean, if I end up in... If anything happens to it sounds crazy, but there is courage required to speak out against the government, and that's why I got arrested. That's why we all... This is why you were facing life in U.S. prison. It's not because pot was being sold. Again, going back to when you got arrested, you were not selling pot.
Just selling
seeds and magazines and information. And the DEA press release even said legalization has suffered a significant blow. The propagandist magazine and video network has blah, blah, blah. It's about the truth. And so that's why today's been an emotional day, because the truth of the matter is I don't feel legal, and nobody that I know in this industry or community or culture is legal yet either.
Feel ripped off, like I've been sold oregano.
A big fat bag, fucking mint tea.
Some fucking tweed weed we've been sold.
This is the thing, they got swag and they don't care.
And they don't care, and they've made it very clear they don't care, and they've been selling all this weed to med patients all this time, this horrid shit, and they're going to continue with that.
My LP got
and they won't
recalls.
care if we go in and buy it and go, hey, this is garbage. They won't care.
And the government says, oh, the trusted producers of medical marijuana. Meanwhile, Organigram, for organic marijuana, which has a deal with the New Brunswick government to be one of the sole providers of marijuana, they've just spent the last 3 days in court because of a class action lawsuit from patients who were poisoned by their banned pesticides. That was on the organic cannabis, and yet that company makes a deal with the government. Fucking government is out to protect your health. And
they're not very quick to allow anyone else involved.
This is it. It's
those
cartel.
people know stuff about marijuana. They don't want anyone, no micro cultivators. They keep yipping about it, but there's no license
basically
available.
It's like you get to produce seeds for the big LPs is what that is. Like, you can't grow enough of your own small supply to be a legitimate business. You can't survive. And even these pot retail stores, like the margins, you cannot make money selling pot under the government regime. Even the government isn't selling pot. But that's why there's that hilarious skit. Did you see the CBC comedy skit?
No.
Oh my goodness. Is there any way we could play this in here on your show if you have 3 minutes and 18 seconds?
We always have
3 minutes. 3 minutes and 18 seconds.
If we don't have 3 minutes and 18 seconds.
CBC comedy skit. It's called CBC Comedy Government Weed Dispensaries.
It's hilarious.
And this stuff,
I saw the,
it's the truth. It's just the truth for it, and it's hilarious. And what we're talking about is it'll
No,
all
you
come
got.
through.
I don't think you're going to be able to look at it before you buy it from the
No.
government, or
No, they're gonna
show
sit
it
you
to
down.
your customer,
No, they tell you
and they're
first
not
it's
allowed
bad.
to look at it in your shop, not till they get home.
And there actually are people who have to sit down and be like, so you want to use marijuana? Okay.
Yeah, here, next.
We're going to tell you it's not good for you. Might make you go psychotic. Might make you crash your car and kill the youngins on the road.
Can't
So
help you, keep moving.
buy as much from us as possible to pay for the bureaucracy we established to create this bullshit system. Okay, government weed dispensaries. If we can get the audio through to the audience and that we can hear too. 3 minutes, 18 seconds, pretty funny stuff. I think you guys will
People
appreciate
already
it.
knew it was 3 minutes, 18 seconds.
This is how much I love it. I'm trying to convince people. I know that that's a long
could
amount
only
of
have been
time
one
in
more
modern
minute.
days, but okay.
Okay, so as you know, we will be shutting down dispensaries and opening up our 80-store legal monopoly on weed.
Yeah! Put those criminals behind bars and let's sell some pot!
Now, first matter of business. Who here knows how to sell weed?
I mean, I understand how it works in theory.
I'm listening.
I used to know a dealer in college.
Problem solved.
No, he's in jail.
Where he belongs.
Back to square one.
I tried salvia once.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Doing a little bit of research over here, and it's showing me that we should be looking for something called the dank or the damp. Is it dank or damp?
Sounds like damp.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Guys, do you think maybe we should just let the dispensary sell it?
Are you crazy?
And then what do we do?
Okay, Daryl, we are the only organization with the infrastructure and knowledge to pull off such a complicated job. Now, will someone please tell me what a bong is?
Okay, guys, I have my mom on speakerphone here. She's got a prescription for medical marijuana. Mom, we're just trying to get some info for our legal drug monopoly.
Hi.
Mrs. Cooper, Paul here. Wondering if the weed that you purchased was in fact the sticky icky.
Mom, do you have enough weed for 80 commercial stores?
Miss Cooper, I was thinking the dispensary should be square. Is that ringing any bells, Miss Cooper?
Mrs. Cooper, Paul here again. Wondering if $200 is a good price for a Digo or a Diego. Am I saying that correctly, Mrs. Cooper?
Listen, what's the address of the dispensary? Maybe we can just go talk to them.
Okay, Mom, shut up. We'll call you back.
You know what? Daryl might be onto something. What if we buy weed from the dispensary, sell it back to the public at a lower cost?
No, then we'd lose money.
Okay, but we are the government, so it doesn't really matter.
I love it. Great thinking, Daryl.
Daryl's right. We need to get back to government basics. Unnecessary positions, lots of committees.
Yes, Chief of Equality, Director of Diversity, a Fairness Council.
Closed on all stat holidays and the entire week of 420, out of respect.
Why would we be closed on 420?
Why wouldn't we?
Daryl, your precious free market economy can't solve every problem. Now, if we really want to muddle things up,
We do.
why don't we just sell weed-related items?
Hemp bracelets, chain wallets, Jamaican flag wristbands.
I was thinking a whole section on blacklight posters, Jimmy, Bob.
Eats World and Seeger, love it.
I actually have the middle on vinyl, so we match that up with a 420 patch.
Hey, Daryl, once we muddle this whole thing up, would it help if the Prime Minister came and cried and apapologized?
Yeah, we were wondering.
He told us to
Guys, this makes no sense. Something works. Why would we tear it down and take it over?
We're the government.
Sweet home, Daryl. Daryl, let me explain to you how the government works. We're the only organization with the public interests at heart.
You're here.
Now, what on God's green earth is a dab?
I think it's like an urban handshake.
Yeah.
You go, you gotta
Sounds like
wiggle.
a high five.
Alright, just wrap it up. There you go. I didn't even get a chance to watch it. We were talking. But it was hilarious, I'm sure. And so on the point. But I will look at it later. And Jodie had to go to another interview with another guy. They're just in the closet over there. It's fun. Well, good on her. She's been very busy today speaking the right words to the world because they all came to her and asked. So good for her, and I'm glad that she's so eloquent and keeps surprising them with her answers. So, anyway, we'll see you later. Here, got a little list of. We got Cannabis Day coming up here in Vancouver, Thornton Park on Main and Main and Terminal Avenue, and that's on July 1st. Marion Gladue is afraid that we're gonna have cannabis leaves on stuff. So she must fucking not go out of the house if she's that afraid of stuff. And disrespectful to the veterans. But her poppy's not. They can fight for opium. But, anyway, we'll see you next week. We'll be ahead of, well, I got a list of people to thank ahead of time here for Cannabis Day sponsors. And that would include this very Cannabis Culture, Weeds, Glass and Gifts, and the Medicinal Cannabis Dispensary, and Lisa Lee Vape Bong Supply Limited out there in New West. So Lisa Lee's actually at 710 12th Street out there in New West. So thanks for their contributions so far, and we'll be down there all day on Cannabis Day, It was a lovely location last year. Had a great time. So come on down and join us if you're in the hood. And we're all going to wear Marilyn Gladue t-shirts. And we'll see you there. Thanks to Anil for helping keeping us on the level. And, you know, we'll see you next time. And I'm Marijuana Man. Peace. This stuff, the good stuff, not the legal stuff.